Because of a recent worldwide flood, Gushens have taken control of every kingdom. They have inhabited everywhere, and because everything is still so damp, they can shoot infinite water. Now Mario has to utilize their abilities on his next adventure to save Princess Peach.
Mod made by Skydorm. Please subscribe.
Hey look, Mario's in Cap Kingdom, and there's the first Gushen. He tried to figure out a way to beat this area even faster by using this capture. Gushens have the ability to gain a lot of height and keep it, especially if they never run out of water. Although, even from the highest point here, Mario could not make it all the way to the top of the tower, so he had to uncapture and open the door to go through the tower the right way. But thankfully, there was another Gushen inside, so his trip to the top was still much easier. Then there was another force to uncapture at the topper fight. Apparently, Gushens are too scared of the Brutals, but he was still defeated and Mario set off to Cascade. Of course, there were even more Gushens to capture here. Unfortunately, this kingdom also had a problem. Most of it is very Chain Chomp focused. This means that a lot of things are blocked off by rocks and therefore cannot be obtained while staying in this capture. And we've already established a problem with Gushens and boss fights, so this is kind of a no-go. Mario just had to bite the bullet and leave the Gushen behind for a little bit. He utilized all the Chain Chomps in the area to grab 4 moons along the way, but they still needed one more, and the Gushens still had to do something. So Mario used this one at the top to fly all the way over to the island in the sky. Usually getting up here is not that simple, but that was a piece of cake, and that was 5 moons, so after taking in this view, they could head out. Sand Kingdom was nice because there was a lot more freedom to grab moons. Traveling around the open desert was also a lot faster. The issue was that there were a lot of moons that just aren't available without uncapturing. There's this one that was quite painful to say the least, and also ground pounding just isn't possible. So a lot of moons just have to be out in the open. There were a lot like this in the ruins, thankfully. Mario was able to increase the moon count quite a bit there, but at a certain point just ran out of options. Eventually, he even had to go for the sheep moon, and that actually worked, which is pretty surprising all things considered. But after this, there really was only one way this kingdom could end. First, Mario flew to the top of the tower so they could get a little more height. Then he was able to go all the way over to the painting island again. He got a moon from there, flew back over to the tower for the first story moon, and finally soared right over to the pyramid to fight Harriet. Doing this boss fight was worth it solely because of how funny it was. Now they could move on to Lake Kingdom, which the Gushens usually don't appear in, but is still a water level. This must mean this kingdom is perfect for this capture, right? Well, not really. Gushens are made for the water, but they cannot go beneath the surface. And there are quite a few moons that are beneath the surface here. The only moons that Mario could get were, once again, the painting platform, and this one over in the boxes. So this place had to go mostly without the Gushen, just to obtain a couple of moons down below, and then fighting Rango at the end. No problem, everything is still fine. Setting sail off to Wooded, Mario learned that the Gushen could do quite a few things here. Catching the bunny was very easy, but the rock couldn't be broken for some reason. However, the biggest thing was that nuts can be broken, which was very useful since they are all over the place here. And they could also defeat the giant piranha plant, so there was the first story moon. Then it would have been nice to stay away from all the brutal fights, but Mario had to make the decision to fight Spewart here to open up a few more moon possibilities. Soaring above all the trees in this place was a lot of fun, but then after going through a few challenges and backtracking towards the tower, they easily obtained all the moons they needed. Cloud Kingdom was definitely going to be interesting. Mario wasn't too sure how they'd help out on the Bowser fight, but before that, you know, a little exploring couldn't hurt. Seeing the airship up close like this was really cool. Then what happens if you land on this platform? Oh, apparently that just starts the fight, okay. And yeah, the suspicions from earlier were confirmed because the Gushen does absolutely no damage to Bowser or the Top Hat, so they had to be left behind for this one. No matter though, because in Lost Kingdom, they were gonna be really useful. And yeah, some moons over here were grabbed in pretty cool ways, like TNT and the one far out on the island. Now Mario just had to get more over at the main part of the kingdom, and that shouldn't be too bad because the Gushen flies forever, right? So all he had to do was stay off the ground in the Klepto trigger, right? Yeah. Yeah, apparently that's not how it works. That would have been nice to know. Anyway, after Mario made his way up to reclaim Cappy, he recaptured the Gushen and got his moon count up to 7 with those that were just lying around, only needing to uncapture to get the last shard in this area, and also to throw his hat at the Trap Beetle, getting 1 Cage Moon and a 2nd Cage Moon. With this mess finally complete, it was time to move on to an even bigger mess, that being Metro. The Gushen obviously made traveling around here much faster, and getting to the base of City Hall was quite easy. Unfortunately, Mario did not seem to find a way to get on top without going inside, but that's okay because the interior Gushen still made the climb super quick. Then all Mario had to do was fly up to Mecha Wiggler, drop down, and capture the tank for this first phase, but he starts to look a little weird on the wall there, and oh, apparently that's a thing. Come on, everything just freezes up before he can be defeated. Okay, new strategy. This time, Mario is gonna take inspiration from the minimum captures route and skip the Mecha Wiggler boss fight. All he had to do was enter the painting and sand to go to Day Metro, and then he could fly over to the mainland using the Gushen on the platform. I said using the Gushen on the platform. Apparently that doesn't exist. Why is that not a thing? Okay, new strategy canceled, I guess. Let's just go back to where we were and work some magic here. Okay, Day Metro, here we go. Now, Mario could use the Gushen in the city to get the rest of the moons, which surprisingly was not that many. Metro, unfortunately, does not have that many moons out in the open, so Mario could do some stuff to get a few, but had to uncapture for a good amount of them. Although, he was very curious about the festival and wanted to get it going. Theoretically, if there was a Gushen at the Odyssey during the festival, maybe Mario could just skip the whole thing and fly up to Pauline. Hey, worth a shot, but wouldn't you guess it, that didn't work either, because even when the switch is pressed, just nothing happens for whatever reason. Yeah, no, I didn't forget the switch, Pauline, it just doesn't work. Oh man, I'm tired of this place. Mario, can we just get out of here? Okay, let's get back on track here with Snow Kingdom. This one went a lot better. First off, there were a couple of easy moons by the entrance. A ground pound was necessary for one of them, but it was a quick uncapture. Then they had to try the 4 rooms. Even if the Gushen couldn't fit through the door. The poison room went well because the Gushen's water could actually kill all the Spinies. He could get both moons in the Rango room, since this one is out in the open and the story moon is just kinda sitting there. So Rango just kinda does this as it's picked up and continues to jump even after the cutscene. In the shards room, everything could be picked up easily, including the treasure chest all the way up, and in the Goomba room, he could just fly right over to the ending platform. 10 snow moons down. And then there was Seaside. And I know what you're thinking. What's different about this place? There's already Gushens here. Well, think about this. There was still infinite water. This just made everything that much better for Mario. Normally, he would be very careful to not use too much water when flying up to places like this. But now there was total freedom. Grabbing all 4 story moons was an absolute walk in the park. And because he can, Mario thought it was only fitting to defeat the boss in this kingdom. And that was even better. Not having to recharge for water meant he could just stay right above the Octo Boy the whole time. No attacks could take him down if he was always up high. So yeah, this guy was defeated in a snap. And the multi-moon is just what Mario needed to move on. Next up, he headed off to Luncheon, where things were once again again, pretty interesting. Of course, there were a couple of quick moons here, but the Spewart fight also just had the moon lying around, so Mario just did not bother with that fight. And instead of just grabbing one moon in this sub-area and leaving, Mario decided to actually use the Gushen and grab all the shards in here, since it was pretty quick. Then in the town, there's a lot of quick moons that can be grabbed here, especially considering the 3 turnip moons are just sitting right by the pot already. Not sure what that's about, but that's pretty cool. And then Mario decided to try his luck with the fork sub-area. The Gushen in here can actually make it pretty far up, but right before the top, the platforms just run out. So another uncapture is forced to be made here for these 2 moons. But what else is there in this place? Mario had explored a little bit and just needed 3 more moons to finish it off. Unfortunately, the Cheese Rocks moon seemed a little complicated since a Pan Bro was needed for that. So Mario said, screw that. I'll just do my own version of Meat Skip and fly up to the pot. So by using a few of these spots on the mountain, he was able to climb all the way up to where Cougatil was. And the multi-moon was not there. Another thing that doesn't work. Awesome. So the last 3 moons had to be filled another way. First off, with all this height, I guess it only made sense to fly over to the painting platform once again. Then after flying back over, Mario could drop down and grab this moon, which normally spawns from a lantern here, but it's still under the lava, so that's a little weird, but okay. And the best way to end it was to enter this lava bubble sub-area and fly to the end using a totally different capture. Finally, 18 were collected and they could move on. Alright, now on to Ruined. But first things first, this tower is way too tall for the Gushen. There is no way that thing is making it all the way up there. But after taking the wire, there are some at the arena. This is very useful because the Gushen might not be able to attack the dragon directly. But of course, being able to hover over the arena is very important for dodging the electricity attacks that come before that. That made this whole fight an absolute breeze to get through. So let's move on over to Bowser's Kingdom. What we have here is a bunch of islands, which hopefully could just be traversed using all of the Gushens and not the wires. Trying this out didn't go so well at first. Flying from the first island to the third island is not happening since it is way too tall and the death plane is right there. But Mario was able to fly from the first island and just barely get onto the second one. From there, he had some additional height and he used that to fly to the third island this time. And the Gushen actually defeated that ogre with a surprisingly pretty cool move. Unfortunately, Island 4 is also raised up just a bit too much and the Gushen is not able to fly over there. So this wire had to be used, but at least when Mario got over there, he was able to stay in the Gushen the whole time. Yep, even on the part with the bombs. After getting the second story moon, the Gushen was able to fly all the way up to the shop island, but sadly, right after that, the wire to the main courtyard had to be used, since another death plane just happened to be right there. Once Mario got to the Brutals though, he noticed that there were Gushens in the arena, so he considered trying to use them for the fight, but they were just more of a hindrance than anything. So both these bunnies were defeated just as normal, and after that, there was the giant climb up to the top, and the Gushen actually made super fast work of this. There were so many roofs on the wall and all these platforms on the side that made climbing up this super fun. But once beneath the keep is reached, how was Mario supposed to get all the way up to the last boss arena? Well, actually, it can be done. All he had to do was get on top of this roof, and that allowed him to fly up to these floating sails above the void. Nobody ever stands on these, but they are very useful for right now. That gave Mario just enough height to fly up to the giant Bowser statue and up to the roof. But before he actually went through with that, he realized that he could fly over to the painting moon if he wanted to. It was kinda unnecessary and really far away, so he didn't really bother, but it was cool to acknowledge. But then on his way back, he looked around and realized that this is one of the best views this game has to offer. He had never seen this whole kingdom from so far away before. It was awesome being all the way up here. And also he thought maybe he could do a little surprise attack. You know, fly around the building and get to the arena first, then just sneak up on Bowser from behind and, okay, never mind, apparently the fight just gets triggered from here. But now for the Mecha Brutal fight, and the Gushen was actually much more useful in this arena. because he could put him right on top, and that would allow him to do the fast kill just as he always did, but now with a lot more confidence, because since the Gushens were still there, one mistake would not cost him anything. The mech was taken down, the final multi-moon was grabbed, and Mario and Cappy powered up the Odyssey to sail all the way up to the moon. Not 100% sure how the Gushens inhabited this place from the massive flood, but whatever. This might have been one of the most important kingdoms for it, because this Gushen was able to fly straight over to the church. It was so simple, it was amazing. Mario thought he could also get a nice view of this kingdom if he wanted to as well, but no time for that. Into the wedding hall! And it seemed like that is where the adventures for the Gushen would end. They had taken Mario everywhere he needed to go. Now it was just time for the Bowser fight, which, as established before, the Gushens don't really help out with that too much. So Mario just did his own thing and took Bowser's top hat to defeat him, and had one last encounter with Gushens in the moon's core. It seemed like maybe there was a possibility that Gushen could fly over this wall of blocks, but unfortunately no, an invisible wall blocks off everything. The Gushens were even able to fly around the sides, but everything was still completely blocked off. So Mario did what he had to do and said goodbye to the Gushens for good. He took control of Bowser, picked up Peach, and made his way through all the falling obstacles once again, and finally clawed his way to victory. Gotta say, even with the Gushen infestation, this still went really well. What an experience that was. Thank you, Skydorm, for making this mod, and thank you all for watching this video. That's all I got for right now. I'll see you all next time. Take care.